जय राधमाधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गोकुलनन्द राधा गोकुलनन्द राधा गोकुलनन्द श्री राधे जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And thank you so much. That was quite a pleasant surprise. Yeah. So today's Gita class is chapter 18, verse 78, which makes it exactly the 700th or the last verse of the Gita, which makes it very special. So what we will do is we are going to begin with reading the Sanskrit. So I will do it a few words at a time. So please do join me. And don't really worry about whether you have got the pronunciation right or not. Krishna is not going to worry about that. What he really is going to look for is just your sincere endeavor. So please don't worry if you don't get it right. Definitely, boys, please do join me. And if you really want to, you can actually go to Veda Base, and if you really want to access it online, as I can see some of you are doing so. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno. I have to get this right because I think we have to probably get the lights a little bit more. Sorry for that. Yeah. Now I know what was missing. Thank you. Let's repeat it. But before that, let's actually begin with the invocation now that we always do. So please do join me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 18, verse 78. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno. Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Tatra Shrir Vijayo Vigyabhuti. Dhruvani Tirma Tirmama. We'll repeat. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno. Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutihi. Dhruvani Tirma Tirmama. Would anybody like to lead it? Yeah. You don't have a book, so I think you do have a Gita there. So if you want, you can pick it up. And I don't know if any of you, would you like to lead? Anyone here? Do you have the verse in front of you?
Yes.
Would you like to lead?
I can try.
Yeah, please.
Yatra Yogeshwaram Krishno
Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno. Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. It's the last one. Tratra Shri Vijayo Bhurti. It's the last one. Thank you so much, Mataji. So, this is, yeah, thank you. So, would you like to lead? The same one, yeah. Yeah. Yatra, we'll repeat. Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha. Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutihi. Dhruva Nitir Mama. Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to? Okay, we'll just do this once more because it's always very nice to listen to the Sanskrit, the language, because that's the language of the gods. That's the language of the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So it's always special to hear, listen to them. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno. Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutihi. Dhruva Nitir Mama. So now we will do the word by word. So please repeat after me. Yatra, where Yoga Ishvaraha, the master of mysticism, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Yatra, where Partha, the son of Pritha, Dhanurdharaha, the carrier of the bow and arrow, Tatra, there, Shrihi, opulence, Vijayaha, victory, Bhuti, exceptional power, Dhruva, certain, Niti, morality, Mate Mamaha, my opinion. Now we'll read the translation. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. We'll repeat this once again. Would anybody like to read this? Would you like to? Yeah, please do.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to? Yeah, sure.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and whenever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Thank you. We'll probably have one more. Yes, please.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Now, this particular verse ends with, that is my opinion. Now, whose opinion is it? Is it Krishna's opinion?
Who is speaking the Bhagavad Gita?
Please, who's speaking the Bhagavad Gita? Maybe that's a question back to you all. Krishna. There are a few more players as well. Sanjay, yes. It is Sanjay. So The last verse, and in fact, the last 4 verses is stated by Sanjay. So it's Sanjay who says that that is my opinion. And this is after he has heard and after he's seen the entire conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. So we are right now, and I think if we can just close our eyes a little bit and think of maybe 5,000 years ago. So you have the Pandavas on the side, the entire army, and then you have the Kauravas on the side. And then Arjuna is afflicted by this dilemma, and he's saying, "Oh, this is all my family, so how am I really going to fight them? Because if I fight them, they will all be killed." So he has that dilemma, and that's what really is the entire, premise of the Bhagavad Gita. So try to think of us, let's really try to move ourselves 5,000 years ago. And this is where Sanjay has already seen that. So he's heard the entire conversation, which took, I believe, about 45 minutes. And does anybody know how the Gita starts off with? How does the Gita start?
I think it's the first question from Arjuna to Krishna.
It is. And even before that, what are the first few verses? What do they say?
They're talking about the scene that he
Really, yeah,
describes the scene of the Pandavas and that they are his cousins and his friends and his family.
absolutely. So it's really setting the scene. That's what's happening, and that's the initial. And then, of course, Mataji, you're right. Then later on, we have Arjuna expressing his dilemma and his anguish about can I really fight this particular war because I'm going to be killing my own family. So clearly, that was where it is, and this is when Dhritarashtra is quite hopeful about victory because he obviously has got the Kauravas has got some a much bigger army than the Pandavas, so he believes that victory is on his side. But where does the Gita end?
Virat form of Lord Krishna, like all from birth to death and everything, all is showing all the real avatar of the Vishnu.
Yes, he does show the the universal form. And in the end, what happens when when you hear this particular hear this passage, this particular verse?
This is what is being told to Dhritarashtra.
It's what's being told. But can you see the change in the outcome? Because there is one of hope, but here Sanjay is very clear, having heard the Bhagavad Gita, that my opinion is that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there will always be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. So what we are going to do now is to go a bit deeper, and we will begin with Prabhupada's purport. It's quite long, so we will pause at various points of time. Then I will try to capture the entire essence of chapter 18, and chapter 18 has got about 11 sections, but it's a complete summary of the Gita. And then we'll see if we have some time for questions and answers. So I'm going to read. I'm going to start reading the purport, and we'll pause at various points of time. If you do have any questions, please raise your hand and you can ask me. Or if you feel that you would like to wait till the end, you could do that as well. Okay. So the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side. But after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjaya told the king, "You're thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune." He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences, and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. So, can somebody tell me what are the opulences that Prabhupada talks about here? What are the 6 opulences that we normally hear about? Fame, beauty, wealth, renunciation. Yes, 2 more to go. Knowledge, and no, not death, power. So there are 6 of them, and everyone has some amount of it, but Krishna has the maximum in all of them. So that's why he's also called the Bhagavan, because when you call someone Bhagavan, Bhagavan is someone who's got all the opulences, and these are the 6 of them. Why would Prabhupada say that renunciation is also opulence? When you renounce something, do you really think of it as opulence?
It increases personal energy.
It increases personal energy. What else?
It keeps you away from the material world.
Yeah, absolutely. It keeps you away from the material world because it's always about, it's just not about what you have, but it's also about making a choice not to renounce something. And Krishna is so his devotees are so dear to him that there are two ways by which he demonstrates the renunciation. One he has done in the Gita when he comes as a charioteer of Arjuna. So he doesn't have to do that. He's the Lord of the universe. So why would he want to be a charioteer of Arjuna? Because he loves Arjuna so much and he believes that he wants to give his mercy. So he comes, so he takes the role of a charioteer, although, he's much. So that's a form of renunciation. Another example of renunciation? Any examples from Krishna's pastimes? How many of us know the pastime where Yashoda actually, tied him to a mortar and grinder? And of course, he doesn't need to do that. But then because he's so full of love and because he knows that Yashoda Ma is so full of love, so he reciprocates by allowing her to tie him. Because he doesn't really need to do that. So that's again a form of renunciation. So he takes a subordinate position so that his devotee can really flourish and get all the credits. So it's quite beautiful, and that's really also I think what Prabhupada talks about is this beautiful association that Krishna has with his devotees. So let's move on. The fight was actually between Duryodhan and Yudhishthir. Arjuna was fighting on behalf of his elder brother Yudhishthir. Because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world, and Sanjaya predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthir. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthir, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. So this is something which is also quite important because in this passage you say that we hear Sanjay talk about opulence, victory, extraordinary power, but he also speaks about morality. And we should not discount the importance of that because Yudhishthir is one of the most righteous person in the world at that point of time. And the Battle of Kurukshetra was a battle of good versus evil. And Krishna was siding the good. Yes. So this is a lot beyond just a battle. It was actually a lordship of the universe as it existed then. So the outcome of this would really decide what the fate of the entire world was, and we know what the fate was, which was positive, of course. Let's move on. There are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad Gita to be discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield. But such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral, but the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad Gita is a supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter, in the 34th verse, Man mana bhava madbhakta. One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam saranam vraja. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, but the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion: surrender unto Krishna. That is the verdict of the 18th chapter. So, in chapter 18, Krishna says just one thing. He says, I have taken you through all the yogas, I have taken you through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. In the end, don't worry about anything, just surrender to me. So that is the main theme of chapter 18, which is renunciation. And the entire chapter really talks a little bit about how it is. So just a little bit on the construct of the Gita itself. So Gita has how many chapters? 18. And what Prabhupada says is that the Gita has actually 17 chapters. The 18th chapter is really summarizing the whole, the entire essence. So we have, so Krishna talks about the first 6 chapters. And what are they? What does he talk about?
First 6 chapters.
The first 6 chapters.
So he explains to the Arjun, they say, there's no one, everyone whoever come, he has to go. He explained like this all thing. So like for example, Arjuna loves Bhishma a lot, so he cannot fight with Bhishma, Pitama, which I make his clothes dirty and stuff when I was kids and stuff, and Dronacharya
Yeah.
was teaching his teachers. I cannot fight with them, and he, as you explained before, he was Nirima to fight, and that's why he said, I agree, Duryodhana is not a good guy, but still he's my brother. He's my Jesh father's son, elder son. I cannot fight with them. But we spent our childhood with them, this and that. So Krishna says, nothing, everyone, we will come, he has to go. And there is nothing which I can't do, and which is nothing which I can do. Right? And they try to explain him.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
to, so don't worry about that, who is there. So today, the Vishnu Pitama is your great grandfather. But when you die, you're going to be someone else. When you die, you're going to be
Yeah.
someone else. He's trying
Yeah.
to explain everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Prabhuji, you're talking about, thanks a lot. So, you're talking about reincarnation, which is one of the themes. So, the first 6 is on Karma Yoga, which is around the yoga of action. And then chapters 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga. So, it talks about devotional service, about surrendering to the Lord. And the last 6, which is 13 to 18, is Jnana Yoga, which is knowledge. So we are right now in, so till chapter 17, it's, we cover all the yogas. Chapter 18 is just a summary. And how many of us have actually heard about, because Krishna is excellent. He's, of course, he's got a lot of opulences, but he's also an excellent communicator as well. Because if you really look at what are some of the principles of effective communication, tell them what you are going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And Krishna does exactly that. So chapter 2 is contents of the Gita summarized. And then he talks about the various yogas. And then in 18, he's also he's kind of summarizing it for the benefit of all of us. So there's a lot we can learn from Krishna, many things, but definitely he's a great communicator here as well. So let's continue reading the purport. So from the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So maybe we can just take a moment. So the lordships will be able to see them in half an hour at 7 o'clock. So yeah, so where was I? But to fully surrender unto Krishna, that is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge, but although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential. And surrender unto Krishna in devotional service in Krishna, in full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction. That is the essence of the 18th chapter. So what we will do is we will come to this in a little while. What I will do is, because when I'm talking about the summary of chapter 18, I'll also try to cover this, but we'll continue. Another feature of the Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about this. So we have, what is our goal in life? What is the goal of human life? Surrender to Krishna. And before that, of course, it all comes to surrendering to Krishna.
To do the karma which you are here for.
To do the duties, to do your prescribed duties. That's a good point. Thank you. Be happy. Yes, that's absolutely our eternal bliss is what we are. And in fact, we are actually. The only thing is we don't discover it. We don't know about it. Because if you are to really look at us as a spirit soul, we have that intrinsic quality of being eternally happy. But then we are not, and there is a reason for that, which we will briefly talk about. So, so there are three levels. There are many levels of realization, but what here we speak about are three levels. So the first one is when you really go through a process of knowledge, meditation, etc., then you come to what's called Brahman, and that's called an impersonal Brahman. So it's called the Brahma Jyoti, if you may have heard about. And essentially what it does is it's really this effulgent light, that is scattered across the universe. And that's the first level of realization. But then what happens is the impersonalists, they typically end there because they believe that that's really their highest. But is that the highest? No. What's the next stage? Discovering the Paramatma. And where does the Paramatma reside? He resides in our hearts. He's within us. And many of the times we kind of think of this conscience. We have this, we have something which tells maybe I'm not doing this this is not the right thing to do. Maybe I'm telling a lie which I should not. Maybe I'm doing a bit of thieving and I should not be doing that. I'm getting angry and I'm shouting something, but I should not do that. So a lot of that is also being directed by someone who's sitting inside. He's a Paramatma. And that's really the second level of realization, when we know that the Lord is not anywhere, but he's within us. He's outside, but he's also within us. And what's the third stage, which is the highest stage of realization? Bhagavan. And that's when you really know the absolute truth, which is Krishna. And that's when you really become a pure devotee. And that's what really, the supreme level of realization is. So let's continue. So perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he's always situated in his eternal internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. So we have to remember that we are not separate from Krishna. I mean, it may feel that way, but we are not, because there is a connection. And we are not really able to appreciate that unless we probably attend a class like this. as an example. But then many of the times when we perform our day-to-day activities, we forget Krishna. But then we have to realize that there is a connection. We are part and parcel, but we don't realize that. And in fact, everyone of us here, we may look very different, but then we all are spirit souls. So there is a connection between us that we don't recognize as much as we should. That's what Prabhupada says here. And such living entities are innumerable and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. We'll not go into the details of what those divisions are right now. The creation is affected by eternal time and it is created by and dissolved by external energy. The manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. So we'll touch a little bit upon this when we are doing the summary. In Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that? Krishna. And what is he called? What is that? Ishvara. Thank you. Ishvara or Bhagavan or Krishna. Material nature. What is the name for material nature? The Sanskrit noun. Prakriti. So Prakriti that we know about is nothing but material nature, and that's all of us are really living in material nature. The living entities, that's people like you and me. And what are we called? We are called the Jiva. So every living entity is called the Jiva. Eternal time. What is that? Kal. Kal or time. And the 5th one is what? All kinds of activities. What is it? Karma. Absolutely. You spoke about prescribed duties, so karma is really one of them. So all is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the absolute truth, impersonal Brahman that we spoke about, which is the golden effulgence, localized Brahman, Paramatma, who resides within our hearts, that's Krishna, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. And when we realize that, we have reached the perfect state. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. I'll continue. This the living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus, he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency that he spoke about, which is about being permanently happy. So that's the state that we are really aspiring for, and that's what really chapter 18 really talks about, which is really about renunciation. So what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is to just give a whistle-stop tour of what chapter 18 is all about. And then we will have some time for questions and answers. Is that okay? So chapter 18 has got 11 sections, just to really summarize, and it's got 78 verses. The first section talks about is the karma section, which is what like you had referred to, which is really around the duties. And here Krishna talks about the difference between sannyas and tyag. So sannyas, who's the sannyas and and what is tyag? Is it same or is it different?
It's affecting each other. Like if you go to sannyas, you have to tag everything.
You have to tyag. So in essence, what Krishna says is that there's not really much of a difference. And a sannyas is someone who has a renounced order, like like we see them in saffron. So so what they have done is they have really renounced, the material duties, like the grihastha ashram, etc. But then they still actually perform duties which is really towards Krishna. Even people like us who are grihast, I mean the householders, we also can achieve that status if we detach ourselves from the fruits of our actions. So we can still perform our duties. And what Krishna does say is that do not do your prescribed duties. So he tells that in the Gita all the time. So we don't have to really reach Krishna by renouncing everything, because that's not the answer. The answer is in doing your duties, but then do your duties just remembering Krishna and always trying to not be too attached to the results of of your actions. And that's not always very easy, is it? Then the next section is about jnana. So here what Krishna talks about is that there are 5 factors to any action that we do. The first factor is the body. That's the body that we are in. And he also calls it kshetra, or the field in the Gita. The second one is a performer, and the performer is us. So we are really the spirit soul, and we are really performing. For example, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you all, so I'm performing something. The third is senses. So what am I doing? I'm using my eyes to see you all. I'm using my voice to speak to you all. So I'm trying to use my hands in a very effective manner. So I'm trying to use as much as possible. So that's the senses. Endeavors. I'm trying to impart Krishna's knowledge to you in a way, and I'm giving this particular lecture. And the super soul, which is Krishna. Most of the times what we do is we try to think that we are the doer, and we associate ourselves with the results of the action. For example, if we attend an interview, we believe that we are doing the interview, and we are so attached to the outcome of the interview that we can't let go. So when we succeed, we feel very elated, but then when we don't succeed, we feel very disappointed. But then can we really change our attitude? Because you can't really influence whether how the results are going to be, but can you influence how you approach that particular result? Is really what Krishna says here. So, but what we really forget is the role of the super soul. So nothing really works in this world. Nothing really can happen without Krishna's consent. And many of the times, we look at these 5 factors. The 4 are visible to us because we use them. But the 5th factor, which is the super soul, is something that we normally ignore. And this particular section really says, remember me, because I'm the person who's directing everything that happens in this world. So you have some independence, you have free will, but nothing can happen here without my consent. And we forget about that. So that's Section 2. Section 3 to 8, and we'll not go through this in great detail, is about a summary of the yoga ladder. So, the first one, talks about karma yoga, which is really around the duties that we do. And what Krishna here talks about are how our fruitive activities is conditioned because of the modes of material nature. Is that something that you have heard about in the past? Modes of material nature, the three gunas, the 3 modes. Rajas, sattva, tamas, and rajas. So, this is really the inferior energy of the Lord, of Krishna, and we are all influenced. So coming to the point, we are spirit souls, but we forget that because when we come to this world, we get influenced by the 3 modes. So this particular section really talks about, the influence of those 3 modes in our lives. So it's quite an interesting thing. So we have to remember that. And once we do our duties, what is the next step? So that section 4 talks about how do you move from karma, where you have reactions to your duties, to nishkarma, nishkama karma, which means that you do duties without any negative reactions, without any karmic reactions. So most of the time what we do is, whatever we do does have a reaction. For example, if I'm very angry and I shout at, say, a friend saying that, how could you do this to me? Uh, I'm so disappointed in you. And if I really shout, then that means I'm invoking a karmic reaction. And that's not going to be possibly good, because I'll probably have to listen to someone who's going to be angry. So I will be in a recipient as well. So it's about Newton's law of motion, of inertia. And then very similarly, even good things also there will be a reaction. So we do have a lot of these reactions and positive and negative reactions. But when we become detached from from the fruits, and when we do that, keeping Krishna in mind, when we offer it to Krishna, then we are slowly trying to mitigate those negative reactions. We can't completely negate them, but Krishna helps you to reduce the effect. So that's what section 4 about. Then Krishna talks about how you can move from nishkama karma, which is about action without any reaction, to the next stage. And what is the next stage? Liberation, devotional service. So once you work in the mode of goodness, once you're doing that, then you move to the stage where you're devoted. You want to think of like Krishna all the time, and then you want to spend time at the temple. You want to perform a lot of duties. You also have a balance between what you need to do in your as a householder in the grihast, and also what you need to do in a spiritual context as well. So you try to combine all of this, and then Krishna really talks about what really does pure devotional service means. And he talks about confidential knowledge. And then there is this particular verse which I particularly like, and I can't resist reading it out to you. It's verse 65, if you would like to go through. See, we're coming almost towards the end. And in 65, Krishna says something which is very beautiful. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. This is as inspirational as you could get. And Krishna reveals his heart when he says this, and this is something that also is the essence of like ISKCON, Hare Krishna, etc. Because it's really about Krishna being my dear friend, and what Krishna says is always think of me. So when we are chanting, when we are even doing our duties, let's see how we can keep remembering him all the time. Become my devotee. Worship me. I mean, and many of us probably are doing that at the home. We are probably doing it at the temple because we have come here to pay obeisance to the lordships. And he says that thus you will come to me without fail because you are my very dear friend. Yes, indeed. So that's what Krishna says. And then towards the end of chapter 18, in section 9, what Krishna also says is that the importance of Gita, and what he does say is that, and in verses 67 to 71, he says that those who preach Gita are those who are really spreading his message, and there can only be good things that can happen to preachers. Even for you all who have been listening to the Gita today, there is a benediction that Krishna says. So please listen to me, listen to my wisdom, listen to the Gita, perform, do chanting, perform, your devotional service, etc. Because that's the potency of this divine conversation. And then after hearing all this, towards the end, Krishna says, after sharing everything about the Gita, Krishna says, tells to Arjuna, now I have said what I need to say. I've explained to you everything. But then he also says, do what you like to. And that's where we can really see Krishna's like mercy, because while we are part and parcel, while we have forgotten him, he still is merciful to us, and he gives us a choice of what we would need to do. He'll of course be very delighted if you follow his instructions, but he will not force you to do it. He'll give you the instructions, but then he'll tell you to do what you want to. And so a lot of chapter 18 is really about helping us to get into this mood of surrender, in this mood of humility. And when Sanjay sees all of this, when he sees this magic, when he sees the transformation of Arjuna moving from a time when he's so afflicted with the dilemma, saying, I'm going to be killing, my dear ones. I'm going to kill my, family. I'm going to kill my guru, Dronacharya. I'm going to kill my grandfather. From there, Arjuna is saying, I'm completely convinced. And many of the times we do believe that, killing is, do you think killing is good? Killing is not good at all, yes. That sounds pretty obvious, right? But then there is killing that is happening in the Gita, so why? So what would your, how do you respond to that? A karmic response. It's a higher purpose.
And one side is truth, one side is lie, and like everything.
The good versus evil. And Prabhupada gives a very good example, analogy of a soldier. Because when a soldier kills, he kills on, and when he kills on the instructions of his superior, that's fine, that's okay. But when he kills on his own, that's when it's, he goes to the court of law. So, with that, we kind of wrap up, and we have just a few minutes for any reflections, any questions. So, the summary of chapter 18 is really around surrender unto me, become my devotee, because you're my very dear friend. So, any questions? Any reflections? Yeah. The fourth one was different kinds of endeavors. Endeavors, or yeah. So for example, my sitting here is a kind of an endeavor. So there is a, different kinds of endeavors would be the fourth one. Yeah. No problem. I thought it'll be good to get into the mood, and so maybe I thought what we could do is to do a little kirtan, and please do join me. And if you don't have any questions, while we wait for the lordships to appear. And welcome to everyone who's just come in. So we are just concluding, we have a daily Gita class, and today we were doing the last verse of the Gita, which is chapter 18, verse 78. So do join me in the Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chander Arati Shobha Kiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chander Arati Jana Vitata Vare Jaga Manaloba Takinini Taichan Bame Gadadara Nikate Advaita Srini Bhaktivedanta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivagacharya Astatotta Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Manor Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivagacharya Astatotta Shrimad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Premsikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadada Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Mayapur Vrindavan Dham Ki. Ganga Yamuna Maya Ki. Tulasi Devi Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Nitai Gaura Prabhanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Garanga Vagasha Prabhupada.